What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today I am going to be talking about a Marvel project. Yes, I know, it's kind of hard to believe, but around a month ago, my friend Ian told me to check out Miss Marvel, because apparently it was actually good. Now, whenever I hear someone say that a Marvel project was great, I'm very skeptical, because as you guys know, I'm not a very big Marvel fan. I like a select few of their products, but not many, which is why it was surprising to me that Miss Marvel was actually watchable, for at least half of it. This is one of the better MCU projects, and although it's not saying much, the second best Marvel show, next to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The reason why I feel this show works for a good chunk of its runtime is because it's focused on people. When I am most invested in these Marvel projects is when they are drawing the humanity out of these larger-than-life characters. I thought Hawkeye was pretty mediocre by the end of it, but the moments that I took away from it were the simple ones, focused on Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. Their simple conversations and character interactions were the highlight of that show. Likewise with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a show that I loved most things about. But my favorite moments from it were still the ones focused on character. Sam and Bucky fixing up a boat, drinking beers, and hanging out like bros. The first few episodes of Miss Marvel are focused on Kamala, her everyday life, and the interactions with her family, friends, and the people around her, which was fun to watch because the characters in this show were actually likable and relatable. The dynamic between Kamala and her family and friends didn't feel fake or manufactured. This is Iman Vellani's first acting role, and she is fantastic in this show. This was perfect casting because she is essentially who the character Kamala is, an extreme Marvel fanatic. While I can't say I share her enthusiasm, I cannot deny the fact that her passion for this franchise really did show through in her performance, which felt very genuine. Really, all of the performances in this show were great. There wasn't one weak link in that regard. Her friends? Awesome. Her parents? Great. Her brother? Freaking hilarious. And all of this is helped by the fact that the background of these people, being Pakistani Muslim, actually plays into the story. It isn't just on the back burner, it is up front and center. I've done a lot of research into different religions, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but props to Marvel for accurately representing a culture and religion without lying about that representation, like in Avengers Endgame, where they really hyped up the fact that they were going to have a gay character in the cast, only for that character to be an out-of-place cameo from the director of the movie saying something along the lines of, "I'm gay," and then disappearing from the film. That was extremely disingenuous. But the representation of Islam in this show didn't feel disingenuous. It just felt like it was naturally part of the story, and I respect that immensely. The culture is even incorporated into the music, as the main theme for the show starts off sounding like a classic superhero theme, only to transition into this more Pakistani-sounding score. This show also does not contain two of the problems that I commonly criticize Marvel for having, that being the bad humor and bland cinematography. The humor in this show did not feel forced or distracting. It came naturally from the characters and their interactions with one another, rather than them quipping 24/7 because the script demands it. It also had style. Something that Marvel is commonly criticized for is their lack of proper color grading. Practically every product of theirs has this same washed out gray color palette. But this show was vibrant. It popped. At points, it reminded me of Spider-Verse in the ways that they were able to implement comic booky visuals into the style of the show. After heaping so much praise onto this show, you guys are probably thinking to yourselves, man, he must love this show. Unfortunately, I did not, because while it does surpass a good number of MCU products, this show ultimately failed to live up to its potential due to its suffering from many of the issues that plague practically every single one of these shows and movies. In this case, its biggest problem is the excess of obligatorily shoved-in plot lines that are completely unnecessary, add nothing to the story, and drag down the experience. The cracks really began to show for me in the third episode, because it is very evident that after a few episodes of hanging out with Kamala, the writers realized that they needed to invent some sort of plot, because there basically wasn't a plot for the first half of this show. So Kamala's boyfriend, but not boyfriend, introduces her to his mother, who is a member of this group of what I'm going to call demon super soldier people, who need desperately to return to their homeworld, otherwise they will die. They ask Kamala for her help, and she agrees to help them, but decides to go to her brother's wedding first, which they aren't pleased with at all, and things escalate pretty quickly as they attempt to murder Kamala and her family at her brother's wedding. Meanwhile, in the background, our secondary antagonistic force, Damage Control, is tracking down Kamala because of her being an enhanced individual. Why do they even care? There are countless superheroes that exist out there in this world, but for some reason they are very determined to capture this random teenage girl. Also, I guess the Department of Damage Control is no longer a construction and cleanup crew. They are now a secret government agency that can subdue superpowered individuals. They arrest the demon super soldier people, who don't even make it to jail before Cameron, who, keep in mind at this point in time doesn't even have superpowers, overpowers the armed guards, and they all escape. The only reason the demon super soldier people got temporarily arrested was so that we could shift our focus back onto Kamala's side of the story, wherein her grandmother asks her to come visit her in Karachi, which she does, and randomly meets this guy who's a member of a secret ninja organization that delivers us a bunch of exposition about the demon super soldiers' plan to cross over their world with ours. The demon super soldier people then arrive and fight Kamala and the ninja people before stabbing Kamala's bracelet, which sends her back in time. But it actually didn't, because in the 5th episode, it is revealed that it was actually Kamala's great-grandmother who called her back in time by using the bracelet. Wait, so which one is it? Was she inadvertently sent back in time by the demon super soldier people, or was it her great-grandmother who deliberately called her back in time? There's some contradictory information going on here, but aside from that, the 5th episode was actually decent for half of it when it was focused on the partition, which was portrayed very well. It didn't feel sanitized like a lot of these horrific events typically are inside of the MCU franchise. However, I don't think that this much time needed to be dedicated to it, because it takes away time that could be spent developing the main plot, which is just extremely confusing and unfocused. After Kamala makes it back to the future, the demon super soldier people open a portal to their world and immediately die. Well, I guess the main threat of the show has been eliminated then, right? Well, no. The demon super soldier leader passes her powers on to Cameron, who shortly thereafter is found by Damage Control. Wait, where did Damage Control go for 2 episodes? I guess they just gave up on their search for Kamala and the demon super soldier people, but then tracked down Cameron, a person who, according to them, shouldn't even have superpowers and thus wouldn't be an immediate threat. By the beginning of the 6th episode, they are essentially locking down the entire neighborhood and blocking off a school. What is going on with this plotline? Now, this may be kind of hard to believe, but the final episode wasn't actually all that bad. It was rather messy, but it brought back a lot of what I liked about the first half of the show, particularly the side characters who were completely absent from the previous 2 episodes, and they are still incredibly fun to watch. But everything with Damage Control was really dumb. The main agent lady running the operation goes completely crazy and begins shooting at children, just like Director Haybale at the end of WandaVision. I don't know why Marvel has this strange habit of making their villains shoot at kids, but I'm sensing a bit of a trend at this point. What I did appreciate, though, was that the final battle ended with a conversation. One of my biggest problems with most Marvel products is they feel the constant need to end on a big shooty-shoot, punch-punch, lasers battle. But the battle in this show ended with a simple conversation between Kamala and Cameron, which I really liked. Even though the resolution to it was extremely illogical, she just punches a hole in the ground and tells him to go meet up with the secret ninja organization that he refused to trust earlier in the episode, but I guess he's now willing to trust them for no reason. Kamala also tells him that his mother passed her powers to him to protect him, but I was under the impression that she had done that to make him complete the mission of the demon super soldier people. But I guess not. What was the point of them explaining to us the demon super soldier people's plan if that never came to fruition? The ending was also very irritating to me because it basically consisted of a bunch of setup for future Marvel projects. In the final scene, Bruno tells Kamala that she has a mutant gene and they play the X-Men theme. Wow, I really needed to know that Kamala was a mutant. Who cares? This is a completely superfluous piece of information that doesn't matter at all. In the post-credit scene, Kamala disappears and Carol Danvers takes her place. For some reason, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what even happened in that scene. It made no sense and once again was completely unnecessary. Something else I'll say is that the protagonist of this show, Kamala Khan, doesn't really have a character arc. She learns about her family history and the part that she played in it by rescuing her grandmother in the past. But that's not really called a character arc, that's just called learning about your family history and the part that you played in it. As a character, she's very static, but I'm almost willing to forgive that because she is such a likable character who does legitimately good deeds. I've said this countless times, but I'm sick of the heroes in these superhero shows and movies being snarky joke robots who put human lives at risk. Even in the episodes of this show that I didn't love, Kamala can be seen on the sidelines trying to protect the innocent. And I just really liked seeing that. So while she doesn't really have much of a character arc, I just appreciated that she felt like an actual hero. I also felt like the resolutions to certain characters' relationships were rushed. For example, the relationship between Kamala's mother and grandmother. Towards the beginning of the show, they imply that Kamala's mother has had a rocky relationship with her mother, and when they go to visit her in the 4th episode, there is some very obvious tension between them. But in that episode, they have a conversation which ends with them coming to a mutual understanding. But I didn't think that meant that those characters had completely gotten over their differences. However, in the 5th episode, Kamala's mom shows up in a kind of corny scene and says that they're all friends again, and the greatest journey has been being your mother. And I was just like, what? When did this happen? Off screen? At the end of the day, this show has the same downfall as most of these MCU shows, and that is its lack of focus. There are so many converging plot lines that they don't know how to properly connect. Kamala and her family and friends, the demon super soldier people, damage control, the ninja organization, setting up Captain Marvel 2, and Kamala being a mutant. All of these plot lines don't really amount to anything, and what we have as a result is a mess of different ideas that the creative team did not have the proper time to develop into a concise narrative. And that is because these shows need more time. I don't know why Marvel is so insistent upon limiting these series to being 6 episodes long, because this show was legitimately enjoyable for half of it, until I realized that there wasn't really a plot. So a bunch of stuff is just jam-packed into the second half of this season. Enjoyable stuff, sure, but it doesn't fully come together. The only Marvel show that I feel has fully stuck the landing is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that is because the people working on that show knew what they were doing. They structured it as if it was a movie, but spread across 6 episodes. With this show, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, and several other Marvel shows, there were good ideas present, but they didn't fit within the constrained amount of time that they were given. Despite that, I do recommend you guys check this show out, because it is far better than many, and I mean many, MCU products. It actually has a visual style, likable characters, and natural humor. But I'd be lying if I said that I was pleased with the end result. This show had a lot of potential, and I could see that while watching it. But as I've said countless times throughout this video, it doesn't fully come together. I don't know how many more of these Marvel shows I'm actually going to be able to sit through, because they're all the same thing. Back when The Falcon and the Winter Soldier released, I was legitimately shocked by how great it was, and I hoped that WandaVision, the show preceding it, was a fluke, and that the rest of these shows would all be on the same level as The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Unfortunately, I've come to realize that The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the fluke, because it was actually good, and the rest of these shows were all extremely rushed and poorly planned. But you guys let me know. What are your thoughts on Ms. Marvel? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Just whatever your thoughts are. Please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.